Hello, folks. We had a very interesting close in the closing session in Banknifty today. And given that tomorrow is an expiry, I thought it's a good time to talk about various scenarios and expectations from the expiry session tomorrow. Banknifty weekly expiries are pretty popular amongst all traders. So, given the close and the context around larger time frames, we would want to cover different scenarios in expiry. So we'll focus on price action, then volume profile based approach, and look into the option open interest buildups, and then eventually also order flow to fine tune our levels, and then arrive at few scenarios for expiry tomorrow. So if you look at if you look, this is a essentially simple price action candle. So if you would have followed earlier post or anything around that, we had this as a sort of a resistance zone which would have marked around the start of the week, and then we had major swing supports marked at 340750, 34200 areas. These are the areas which we had major support from. So we closed just around about that place. Okay, and the today's core scenario was support around 8850 areas as well. So we did bounce from there, tested the resistance, and then cracked from there. So given that we closed around the critical swing support, so I would hold this entire zone around 34,200 to 34,100 areas, 30 as a key support, and potentially from a longer time frame, 900 up to 900 as well. So this, if you look at the big picture first, this is where sort of we once we broke out of that budget day rally, we did take support and bounced off these regions. So if you look at the big picture, this area is a pretty potential support zone. Yeah, and so overall, from a larger time frame context, you would expect some bounce from these regions. That is of course one scenario. And if you're able to break through this region, then we have a potential test to 32,800 in a long-term potential basis, though. So this is nothing for tomorrow, but this is a larger time frame picture context. And again, on the larger time frame, if you sort of evolve and trade above 34,100 areas, you'd look to pull back to 736,000. So the context changes again. So until this point, that point, the larger time frame now remains swing bearish mode. Okay. And now let's look at the volume profile based approach in terms of what the profile looks like and what are the areas that we want to watch out for tomorrow. So yeah. So if you see, let's the core profile region, right? This is the core profile region that you had today, and then you had a little bit of balance here. So these are the core profile areas that we are dealing with. So as a first thing, I would want markets to sort of hold somewhere. Let's say it opens around the same region. We would want this region to hold and look for a bounce of these areas. If we don't bounce of these areas and look to trade lower, then it's a then the bulls will be challenged, and option open interest around 34K would be challenged as well. But our primary scenario would be to look for a bounce from these regions. In case we open higher and in case there's a gap up opening, then I would look for a pullback short. So I would look for a pullback short around this zone, which is 650, 700, 750 area. So I would look for a pullback short for around this zone, and look for rotation on the downside. So these are the my primary scenario 1 and primary scenario 2 for tomorrow. Okay. Only holding above 34,090, etc., that region, I look for a bearish play and a bearish breakdown. But again, be mindful that we have strong supports here. So any bearish play out, there is a good potential that we'll see a bounce off from those regions. One, because 34K is a round number and has a lot of option open interest on the put side build up, and two, these are key swing levels that we discussed. Okay. And until we are able to sort of hold above these regions, until we are able to hold above these regions, which is a breakout possibility, and at this point looks like a low key scenario. So your scenario 4 could be break above these regions. Okay. So let us just quickly draw the support and the resistance areas. So this becomes your sort of your support areas in terms of the market conditions. Yeah, this is my support areas, and I would look for a short side bounce from these regions as a resistance area. Okay, and yeah, so that's the key areas to look for. Let us also look at what is the option open interest around. So what we have seen is that there's a lot of call build up on the 35K. So 35K I'm expecting to be defended on the put side. 34 has a lot of put build up now. The most balanced option open interest is at 34 500 areas. So at this point, that's the max point I would assume, and so that's the most balanced call put balance. So in if for a range bound players who are looking for decay, your ideal expectation should be to range trade within this and this range, and potentially form a profile within the lower half of this range, and sort of have a range bound play essentially within this range. Okay, until we break above this or break below this, we would look for a range bound pullbacks as a thing. Let's also quickly look at the order flow charts and the footprint charts, and see if they have a distinct picture around anything. So this for me is the Bank Nifty. I'll just maximize this for you. So this for me is the Bank Nifty 30-minute footprint charts, the cluster charts. If you see the last candle 30-minute, we had a big fall, 115K delta. So you had huge delta clusters built around this place. So having so this is an area I would want to be defended by the bulls, if by the bears if they don't, and if market is able to hold and get above this area, then we could potentially look for a test up to this or this region and a rotation from there. Okay, and if the market is able to break below and hold, we could look for a slide towards the mark levels. So first immediate tomorrow, my reference would be sort of see if you're able to hold into 350 400 areas to decide whether it's a bit of a pullback or a rotation on the downside. So pretty much similar lines of on the volume profile analysis as well. So yeah, and yeah. So again, within this range, you would look to straight pullbacks, trade options, and look for a theta decay breakout play outside this range on both sides. Okay. As a bonus, I would leave this template and plan for you, and the link on the notes. Please feel free to use it. Thank you, everybody.